Welcome to New Tracks Live. New Tracks Live is the weekly meetup of the New Tracks modeling community that provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for the live meetup. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page, where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com to register to receive Zoom links for the weekly meetup and get more modeling information. And now, here is the host of tonight's New Tracks Live, Phil Edholm.
Well, welcome. It's June 24th. I cannot believe that we are, just a week away from being halfway through the year. Pretty amazing how quickly things have gone. It is nice, though, that because it is the summer solstice, the days are nice and it's light outside, so can't complain too much about that. Anyway, before we start tonight, I wanted to run a little video about our platinum sponsors and donors. They support not only New Tracks Live, but also, more importantly, the scholarship, which we'll talk about in a moment. So we're going to hear now from our 3 platinum donors.
New Tracks Mentoring thanks the 2026 New Tracks Mentoring Platinum donors, Brennan's Model Railroading, the Amherst Railway Society and the Great Scale Model Train Show. Platinum donors support the New Tracks Mentoring Scholarship as well as New Tracks Live. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering products focused on the O-scale market, including Brennan's Better Ballast and a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits with complete photographically illustrated instructions to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit. The Amherst Railway Society has been bringing modelers in the New England area together for 70 years. The Society sponsors the Railroad Hobby Show, held each January at the Eastern States Exposition Fairgrounds in West Springfield, Massachusetts. It is America's largest railroad-themed trade show. The event occupies 4 buildings on the fairgrounds, and draws 25,000 visitors. The show has received the Walther Showmanship Award in recognition of promoting interest in railroads and model railroad hobbies. The Society sponsors other events and operates the Amherst Beltline's modular layout. Use the QR code to visit. The Great Scale Model Train Show is the largest train show in the Mid-Atlantic region. For 40 years, the Great Scale Model Train Show has been held 3 times annually at the Maryland State Fairgrounds in Timonium, Maryland. The events are generally held the first weekend of February, the second weekend of April and the last weekend of October. Held in 3 halls, the train show features vendors, layouts, clinics, and special activities. The Great Scale Model Train Show features over 600 exhibitors and vendors. Use the QR code to visit.
Well, thanks very much to our platinum donors. They really help support not only us, but not only this weekly event we do, but also the scholarship. So in addition to our platinum donors, we have 5 brass donors: Loco-Fi, Santa Clarita Railroad, O-Scale Central, Mill River Studios, and Kershaw Craftsman Kits. So if you get a chance to buy a product from one of them, really appreciate it. Help support them as well. All of these donors and all the donations really help support, beyond the little bit we have to run the show, help support our scholarships. We committed to do 3 $2,500 scholarships this year, and Steve's going to talk a little bit later about some of the candidates. We had some amazing candidates this year, and we may actually end up doing 4 scholarships. So pretty exciting. It's great to be able to support youth and model railroading and see these young people and how amazing their modeling is. And now, actually, as we move into the next phase of kind of the annual scholarship, one of the things we are starting to do is really raise money for next year for the scholarship. We set kind of a high bar, a high standard, and we definitely want to meet that. So, if you can donate, whether it's $10, $20, $50, $100, or even more, you can do that through Zephy. Use the QR code or the tiny URL ntmms-Zephy, and that'll take you to Zephy, which is a special platform that's designed to support nonprofits. Does two things. One, you get a deduction for your taxes for your donation, but also they don't charge any fees. So we get all the money to use for the scholarship and the New Tracks mentoring programs. Tonight's program is actually going to be a little different. We actually had a couple of folks that were on the program. As you know, I'm trying to do is get a little bit of ongoing just activities every 4 weeks or so. Steve Bittinger had to go to a Rotary meeting. There was I think new officer in satiation tonight and couldn't attend our meeting this evening. And the good news for him and bad news for us is that Doc, actually, who's our N scale expert, has a second job and is working this evening and won't get off until 9 Eastern time. So he's going to miss most of our meetup tonight. So that's good news for him. It's great that the business is picking up. He's in the restaurant business, I believe, in Memphis, and that's picking up. So that's good news, bad news for us. What it does really bring up for me personally is I put here, we need you. I really need you. If you have a topic, a clinic, a tool you'd like to talk about, your layout, just virtually anything, send me an email or click on the tiny URL here or the QR code. Takes you to a little form and you can fill it out. It would really good to get more folks and different folks presenting on New Tracks. Just before we start, next week we will be starting a build along with Phil's Trains of a freelance critter. This is a critter that I believe uses the Bachmann trolley car mechanism. You can buy that by going ahead and using the discount build along for a 15% discount. Kits are available with ON30 and S kits, and they're right at $60 with the discount. Really cool looking little critter. And again, use tiny URLs. If you'd like to go directly to the website and look at the products, use tinyurl.com/critter-on30 or critter-s. So that really is kind of the introduction stuff I wanted to go through this evening. I did try to call Jim and check up on him, but I wasn't able to reach him. I'm not sure there was anything more than just not being able to reach him, but I will give everybody an update next week. Our first segment this evening is going to be the MyBuild. And so we're going to go ahead and go to that. And before we start, the MyBuild is sponsored by the O-Scale Resource Magazine. And so we'll go ahead and run a short video about the magazine.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
Absolutely. Very much great magazine, great place to read. Obviously, New Tracks has been very involved with the O-Scale Resource for a number of years. Also, Dan hosts our website, and we've been working together because we're moving to a new server structure to move our domain over to that new server environment. So thanks to Dan for helping with that. Well, now we're going to jump into the MyBuild. And so what I'd like to do is bring in Chris Coarse. Chris is the person who coordinates and puts together the MyBuild. So Chris, we'll throw it to you and let you take it off.
Thanks, Phil. I got a busy packed program tonight. So we're going to start out with the results from the survey that I had you guys fill out. And we'll go into the MyBuild from there. So without further ado, we will share the screen. And then we'll go here. Full screen. There we go. Okay. Give it a second. There we go. Okay. All right. So we'll start out, like I said, with the challenge vote results for this year. We only had 18 people participate. I would have liked to have seen more, but we'll take what we can get, I guess. So the first question is, how often should we hold the MyBuilds? And the response for that was 61% said monthly. So we will continue to do it monthly. And the next is, how often should we have the MyBuild challenge shows? And we got a little different response than we got last year. And so we're going to cut that back to being quarterly. So we'll have 4 of those a year. So then, of course, the next question based on that is, and this is a big eye chart, what shall our topics be? So to consolidate that info down a little bit, what we've come up with are kit bashes and scratch builds. It's always a popular theme. Animations, make it move. I was a little surprised to see that because I don't recall a whole lot of animations in the last few years. Figures, adding life to a scene. This is a new one, and so that'll be a good addition. And then we have shelf orphans, some of which have been revived. And so we thank everybody that contributed those submissions and filled out the answers for that. We also went on to ask a few other questions. There was one I just had to throw out because there were just so many answers that just didn't make a whole lot of sense. But the big question is, have you participated in the MyBuild? And then 77.8 said yes. So thanks to everybody that's done that. And are you planning on participating in future MyBuilds? 94% said yes. Should we limit the number of photos per person? So we have some people that send us 2 pictures. Some people send us 25. So I just figured I'd throw it out there and see what people's thoughts are on it. And basically what we came up with is, no, we will not limit the number of photos per person. And then I said, well, are you guys happy with me as a host, or would you rather have somebody else? I got 94% said me. So, well, I guess you're stuck with me for another year, unless Phil fires me. So then one thing I've found really interesting was how do you most commonly view the NewTrax modeling? And of course, you can see basically 89% were on Zoom. There was nobody that said that they watched it live on YouTube, but 11% said they recorded or watched it recorded on YouTube, which I find interesting. I kind of wonder if maybe the YouTubers were not participating in the survey. I don't know. There's not really any real way of finding out, I don't think. So what it all boils down to is, in order for the MyBuilds to be successful, we need you to contribute photos. Please send those photos to me at railrunner130@hotmail.com. And if you have not participated in the past, please include a photo of yourself. And please also include a brief description. That way, if you can't make it or something comes up, then I can speak a little bit intelligently about your work. All right, so now we'll roll right on into the My Build for this month. Oh, I got this slide out of sequence. I apologize, but these are the My Build challenges for the next year and the timing of that. But we'll get to that at the end. All right, excuse me. So the June 2026 challenge, scratch builds and kit bashes. We'll head right on into that. And to mix things up, we're going to start with a new person. I hope he's here.
I'm here. There's just there's a really bad storm outside, so
Okay.
I've been in and out.
Okay, so we've got Austin up first because we said we weren't going to put Martin out first. So what we actually did is, sorry guys, we did keep it alphabetical, but it's by first name, not last name. So,
All
so,
right.
so there's only one person that has to follow Martin. All right, so all right, Austin, we'll go ahead and get started here.
So what I started is I 3D printed the NASA SRB shuttle booster cars. I first found a model online, so that right there, that is the base holder for them. And what these train cars are used for is they're used to transport everything from your nose cones to your fuel tanks for your rockets, kind of like your the Artemis rockets actually utilized these. If you want to go to the next picture. That is the case that's holds the rocket boosters. And I actually if you want to go to the next one. So each of these is a kit. There were no instructions for these. I kind of had to figure out where everything went. Um, but um, they were put together. I had to put screws. I had to find couplers, wheels, and such. And lead tape actually. These were of course top heavy, with that top piece being a single molded piece with no hollow area inside. I'll go to the next one.
Okay.
So I ended up making four of these. Um, and I'm also currently making the spacer cars that would go with these and the passenger car that would have rode along with these. But these all have their individual decal sheets, which I'm decaling these for NASA as they looked in 2010s. This was before they kind of redesigned some of them for the Artemis program. Next one. And here they are with mock spacer cars on my club's layout, and they work flawlessly. The only issues I've ever found is um, I gotta kind of take them slow on curves just because how heavy they are. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, this is HO, I take it.
Yeah, this is HO.
Okay. What led you to deciding to do these particular cars?
I live right next to Cape Canaveral, and I went to go see Artemis take off, and as well as I rail fanned and I actually saw the NASA shuttle booster train, um, which comes through Jacksonville. Comes from So it starts off in Utah, actually over in Providence, right by the first spike, is where they build them. Ship them by rail, and then they end up in Jacksonville, and in Jacksonville. They go over to the Florida East Coast and then they go over to NASA. The plans were on, it's escaping my mind. Um, but um, if you look up NASA rocket train HO, um, oh, oh wait, never mind. The thing isn't there anymore. It's been NASA rocket train 3 model maybe. Walters just did a release of these. Yeah, it's on. It is on. Um, it's on Printables.
Oh, okay.
Website's name is Printables. I'll put the link in the chat right now.
Okay.
Um, but they work really well. Um, they run flawlessly. I have metal wheels, KD couplers on them,
Hmm.
but that's pretty much it.
Cool. All right. Any questions before we move on?
Do you have the spacer cars there for a reason or just?
So it's based off the actual prototype, and what they have them on there for is in case a train hits the back of this, they don't want all the rocket boosters going off. So they have spacer cars, and then they used to have a passenger car, which was Southern 10, and that was to haul all the scientists and all the load specialists um, who were going along with the train. But that Sally got wrecked in 2018. They're going over a bridge in either Alabama or Louisiana, and the bridge gave way, and it wrecked part of this train. So that Southern car is no more.
Austin, do they require any special clearances or anything? And do you on the club layout?
Um, they They can fit under most tunnels. I haven't measured how wide they are, but they worked pretty well with other trains passing by mine
Mhm.
on the layout. The only issue it ran is on narrow bridges. It won't go through. I had to kind of push the bridge to a side a little bit. Um, but it's the real thing.
Yeah,
I have spacer cars being made just for that reason.
Austin,
Cool.
it's Pat. I'm sorry, somebody else.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, is the front part of that car, is it articulated where the coupler sits?
Yeah, it's so
Okay.
they can go over tighter curves.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Nice.
Hmm.
Good.
Are they yellow?
Yes, they actually are yellow. I forgot to attach a picture of the actual ones. And I don't think it'll allow me to attach a picture for the comments.
Huh.
But Walters just recently announced a run of these. Um, Here they are. They updated them to have refrigeration units on some, and Walters is doing the refrigeration unit ones.
Well, this is neat. It's a slightly different subject. It's enough to pull us out of our comfort zone, and that's exactly the point of the My Builds, or one of the points of the My Builds.
Oh yeah. In the comments I attached, that's an actual one.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Um, they've been using these for years. When they did the space shuttles in the 80s is when they actually originally first made these.
Yeah, they were built originally for the solid boosters, I think, for the space shuttle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason the boosters had to be a certain width is actually so they could fit on these train cars. And the tracks for these trains ran on were designed based off Roman chariot
Oh, there they are.
streets. So the sides of the Roman streets were basically two horses sitting side by side. So it's kind of a funny thing to think about that the rocket boosters that sent people to the moon and every such place was based on so they could fit on these train cars, and these train cars were fit based on Roman standards.
So Chris, I'll stop sharing and let you start sharing again.
Alrighty.
So just one question, Austin. One of the things I noticed when I pulled the slide up is that there is some text, on the cars. Are you going to add that on or?
Yeah, I have a decal sheet. I'm out of state
Cool.
currently for work, but when I get back, I'm gonna add them.
Sounds good. Cool.
Hmm.
Great project.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Any more questions for Austin? Well, thank you very much, Austin. It was very interesting. Like I said, it's nice to kind of pull us a little bit out of our comfort zone and show us something a little bit different. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next up is Craig Veach. You up, Craig?
I am.
Alrighty. So
Thanks, Chris. Okay, if we can have that first photo, thanks.
All right.
So this is the first wagon that I've built in 1:48 scale, and it's also my first attempt to make styrene look like wood. I usually prefer to use wood to represent wood, but given that this was an entirely new scale, I didn't have any suitable wood to hand. Excuse me. It's fully scratch built to plans that were published in Narrow Gauge Down Under magazine in 2024. And that plan had the key dimensions and then sufficient details undimensioned to be able to make a reasonable representation of the prototype. However, there are no actual photos readily available of the prototype, so colours and everything else are what I thought might work on a wooden wagon that belongs to a 2-foot gauge tramway in the mineral-rich west coast of Tasmania, Australia. Next slide, please. So I began by making the side doors for it. It's actually only a 10-ton capacity wagon, and fitted styrene strip for the steel brackets on the doors, and then used a little jig on the side there to consistently space the holes for the NBWs that subsequently fitted. And before I did the brackets, I ran a razor saw along each strip of styrene to try and get a bit of a timber grain effect on. So next slide. Now, the iron latches that were used to hold the doors shut against the ends, I came up with a little ploy. I have these HO scale etched brass. They're called astragals. They're actually the brackets that hold downpipes to walls, but they make, actually, when they're folded up in a different way, they make very nice little frames for door latches, and just the right dimension for this, so they got used. So that's the latches fitted to the ends. Next slide. And here's the assembled body. The doors are actually glued to the ends, but on the end of the latch bolt, I've wrapped a circlet of 0.2 millimetre. What's that? About 5 thou, I think, 5/1000th of an inch. Copper wire that's come out of multi-strand pickup wire. And down the centre line and off to the side on the floor there, you can see lines of dots that individually placed nail holes, 6 holes per plank, and the planks are individually fitted to a false floor. Next slide. And this is it from side on. And those with very keen eyes will notice that the bar joining the centre pillars isn't entirely square to the centre line of the wagon, and that's because I wasn't paying attention when I was fitting the pillars. The pillars had to be they've got a cut out section that fits them over the floor panel, and I cut the cutout on the wrong side of one of the pillars. So every time I see it, it drives me mad to see this slightly out of skew piece of metal going across it. And the other bit is note the door latches on the centre. They're actually those little etched brass pieces cut in half so they fit better on it. Next slide. Well, this is where life got really interesting. The plan showed all the brake fittings without any detail, so I sort of built them to what I thought was a reasonable proportion. They're all made out of styrene. The yokes on the ends of the rods are pieces of styrene strip glued to the rod and then rounded off. At our division meeting last week, somebody talked about using 3D printers for creating fine details. So I think I might be investing in a 3D printer if I'm going to stay in ON2 and making brake gear. So to make sure that it all came together and looked suitable, I did a test run, and the bottom section there is one set of rods for one side of the wagon, fitted to the wire cross pieces. Excuse me. Next slide.
Here's where it's
And so
getting really impressive.
Thank you. So then we came to the to fitting all those bits and pieces, and making some brake cylinders, which is just some styrene tube with a piece of 10th thou sheet glued across the top. The floor also included obviously bolsters. You can see there. I fitted the one part of the KD couplers, and also had inside mounted frames. The frames are all timber on these things. I think they were actually built in the sort of 1910s, 1920s, and they continued to be used into, I believe, the 60s. So that was kind of fun, fitting all those bits and pieces. And then you can see two little handbrake excuse me, brackets with the locking holes drilled into them, fitted on the sides there. And I originally started with, I'll make the truss rods out of 20 thou styrene, seeing everything else is styrene, and it just didn't look right. So that's 20 thou phosphor bronze wire that's been folded and pushed through the ends, and then again with little circlets of the same copper wire on the end to represent a locking pin. Next slide. And I'm always amazed at how a coat of paint suddenly makes everything look neater and tidier. Or maybe it's just way I model doesn't look any good until it's painted up. So on the floor here, we see all the key details: the truss rods, the frame bracing, the brake cylinders, the piping. Piping is imagination. That wasn't shown on the plan at all. The levers, rodding, brackets. I said before, the KD coupler mounts. Next slide. The ends in these things are quite interesting, given they're such tiny wagons. It's a mineral wagon, so I'm not quite sure why it has these big square stanchions standing up at the end, but they were there on the plan, so they got modelled. And again, the brackets for them are the little etched brass astragals. And the piece to the left of the right-hand stanchion with all those bolts fitted is actually the brake piping. And it's got a gooseneck at the top. So rather than having the brakes connected down at the floor level, they're up above the top of the wagon. And every wagon on that railway, other plans I've seen of different wagons, including the passenger wagons, all have the goosenecked brake joining. Next slide. So, as I said before, because there's no, well, I haven't been able to access photo, and only the plans were published. There was no description of the wagon use or colours or anything. I airbrushed it a sort of light grey, and then added washes of thinned acrylics. And I was trying a new technique. I wet the sides with effectively wet water, and then just drizzled thinned acrylic on and let it run down the sides. And I really liked the effect on the inside of the door. So that sort of weathered thing of, you can imagine, mineral dust that's accumulated on the sides, and then there's some rain and you get the dust and the water combining. So the aim really was to depict a weather-worn appearance, including peeled paint, but an otherwise serviceable vehicle. And so the next couple of slides are just increasing the weathering effect. So next slide. So this is using slightly darker washes, dark grey and a black brown, so that they're really embedding into the gaps between the boards and the floor and the doors, etc. And then finally, I dusted, next slide, I dusted on rust powder, over which I then dusted what I would call mineral dust. The idea being that the mineral dust is going to always be coating over any rust that builds up on the vehicle when the vehicle's in use. And so that's it completed without yet fitting just KD number 5s. The bogies are actually HON 3.5 12mm gauge bogies from Queensland Railways models. And finally, the next slide. So all the time I was building this, I kept thinking, this is O scale. It should be, I should have a different feel. I sort of thought I'd have to build a new muscle memory, and it just didn't seem right. And then I just parked it on a piece of track beside a recently scratch-built HO standard gauge wagon. And it really brought home just how tiny a 2-foot gauge tramway wagon is. So twice the actual scale, but it can fit almost inside the HO standard gauge wagon. So that's it. Thank you.
Righty. Wow. Pretty impressive. Kind of give Martin a run for the money on the brakes and all that. So,
Craig, I have a question for you. On your
Yes.
side, it looked like this was previously painted, and you can see if you go back a couple of slides, it's really obvious. Yes, you see how the paint. It looks like it was previously painted a color, and the paint wore off, and it came back and painted more different colors. It's very effective. I like that a lot.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that is it, the little rectangular patch at the floor on the right hand end. I actually put a tiny piece of painter's tape there.
Okay.
When I did a couple of washes, and then I took it off again, and because I think that's where I'm planning to put some lettering, either the tear and load measurement, or perhaps a wagon number. But yeah, I just let the paint do the job, and I was really happy with the way it sort of turned out, and it kind of does look like wood.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased with that.
yeah.
Are any pieces
Greg, it's Greg. I know that the offset of those two middle beams when you first constructed it bothered you, but I think now that it looks like a finished and well-worn rail car, it works perfectly. And I think it looks better than if you had done those perfect.
Thanks, Ray. Actually, as you were talking about that, I thought, yeah, maybe I should take a pair of pliers to that bar and give it a little bit of a worn look as well.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Give it a bit of a twist or a bend or something.
Wow.
Nice job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions for Craig? All righty. Fantastic work, Craig. Thanks for sharing. I look
Thanks,
forward to
Chris.
seeing what you come up with next time. And David Landels, I don't know if he's up. David, are you here?
I don't think so. I don't see him in the,
Okay.
I don't think
All right.
I see him in the, yep,
Yeah,
sorry.
he did send me a synopsis, and basically what you're looking at here is this is a scratch built that he did in honor of his grandfather, who is shown here. His name is Harry Landels, and homesteaded in northern Manitoba. And basically what he's doing to honor his grandfather here is build a barn and a farmhouse to add to his layout. It's HO scale and built with styrene and a few wood stir sticks that he snagged from Starbucks. So here's you've got the barn, and actually a little further down it shows you some of the strip wood and some of the actually he cut down some styrene to make this all work. But did a heck of a job with it. There you see it's getting painted and a little scrubbed up. And there it is, partial roof. Looks like he did a little bit of interior on it. And there we have the completed products. And I think this has got to be the farmhouse. Life must have been really rough in the barn. And look at all the detailing that he put into the wood, roughing it up to make it really look like a beat up barn. There's the other. Actually, it looks like that roof piece is detachable. Actually, there's a little bit more on here. I think somewhere along the way.
Oh.
Yep. See, he cut down some styrene into strip wood here.
Oh.
Yeah, this part he says this is a scratch build of an old elevator. He said it's located in east of Edmonton, Alberta, on the provincial border with Saskatchewan. He's been there many times photographing trains on CN's main line across Canada. Said it was the first time with making paper decals. It's an interesting process, and he was happy with how it came out. Again, styrene for the structure and Tichy windows with stir sticks for the roofing. So you see him scuffing it up. And there's some more of the scuff. You see what's been scuffed and what hasn't. Then he's applying it to the elevator walls. And some paint. Painted it before he put it together. All right. And I believe that's the real one. So we go on a little bit further. So he must have taken these and sanded them down and then applied them. And there you have the finished product, the Alberta Alberta wheat pool. All right, looks like about it. Any questions or comments?
I like the way he had the roof falling in on that barn. As a nice little detail there.
Yeah, it came out pretty neat. I like the shape of the grain elevator. That's never really paid much attention to grain elevators, but that's pretty cool the way it came out.
And not too many of them left standing either.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's quite a bit of them in the States, but I'm not sure they're quite that exact design. All right. Well, David, if you're watching, thank you for sharing. And we'll move on to Greg.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Okay, so I went through stuff I built, and I think I picked out 3 scratch builds that I haven't shown before. I hope so. If I have, I apologize. This is the first one, and this was done in O scale for a friend down in Williamsburg who wanted this on his layout. This is the scale house in Mount Union, Pennsylvania, that's on the Pennsylvania Railroad where their yard meets with the East Broad Top. So that's the actual building. I think this picture was taken in the late 60s. Next. And in order to build this, we were lucky enough to get a number of different plans, including some from the from the Pennsylvania Railroad Technical and Historical Society. And these things helped immensely in how accurate I was able to reproduce it. Next. These are all the materials that I got together that I was going to be using. I had the plans. I had some laser cut windows made to my spec. I had some metal roofing, and for the outside, I was using styrene because it had what's called novelty siding, and the only appropriate spacing that I could find for it was in styrene. But the frame was built out of wood. Next. And this is how it came out. If you want to see the whole build, it's on my YouTube channel. We put an interior in it, including a scale balance beam that was inside the cupboard, the way they actually had it. And again, that's where the plans really helped out. Next slide. And so those custom windows that I had made were really necessary in order to match the prototype because there's nothing available that was even close. Plus, these are the correct size, and I had the door laser cut as well, so it would match the prototype. And the lights, as well as the light on the interior, are all wired, so he was able to hook it up because they actually had floodlights that would light it up so they could weigh in the dark. And I think that's it for that one. Next slide. Now, this one was for another friend who had an O-scale layout modeling the Pennsylvania Railroad, except he was doing the Shamokin division. And this is a location called Wayscales. And this was called the Wayscales Agent Office and Scale House. And it was one building. And we only had a few pictures to go by with this one, no plans and really very little information. Next. This was one of the few photos that we had. So I had a couple other photos that showed some details, nothing that showed it overall, and I didn't have anything that really showed the back of it. But we had enough, and based on the lack of information, what I came up with is hard to argue with. Next. So again, these were all the items that I had. I had a number of grant line doors that I was going to be able to use, but again, I had laser cut windows for this project so they would match, because this having been built in like 3 different sections, the windows were different in each section. And I did have one photo of the back. You can see it there on the page of photographs, but it didn't show the whole thing. And then I had built up a mock-up just to see what kind of size I was dealing with and what size windows and spacing and everything that I was going to need. Next. And this one, it took quite a while, but it came out as close to the photos as we could get. It was basically normal clapboard siding, but each section had different windows, and then I had to build out the bays, and it has a bit of an interior inside both of the bay windows. The agent's office has desks and stuff, and the scale house portion has another cupboard with a balance beam in it. And having to do all of the gutter work and stuff here in order to match the original was probably one of the more difficult things. Next. Okay, and this is the other end. And I had enough photos of the end of it to know that there was an entrance there as well, along with some doors that go down to a cellar and a couple of other things. So it came close enough, and he was really happy with it, and he's happy it's on his layout now. And I'm happy that I was able to come up with something that was fairly close. Next. Okay, now this is a third one, and this one I can't show you any prototype photo because there was nothing to go by. Basically, a friend of mine had that cast resin platform that you see there. And he said, Greg, could you build me a scale house that could go on this? And I said, sure, that'll be easy. So just cut down a couple pieces of clapboard siding. Next. Then I put in some windows, put a roof on it, put some rafter tails, and that pretty much made up the scale house. Next photo. And then for the back of it, I put a little shed on there. It was scratch built out of strip wood. And this was a real simple little scratch build, but again, really happy with how it came out. And I think that's the last one, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. That what I can't get over is how how at the bottom of the walls it's all moldy and you managed to create that little area of collection of leaves and things. That came out really nice.
Yeah, well, the staining is how I was able to get the moldy look. And then the leaves, it's the same thing that I showed on building Prater's products last week. I just sprinkle some ground up leaves and then drip alcohol on them.
Very nice.
Well, Greg, I just want to say this. Now that you've completed all your friends' buildings, I'd like to make you my new friend. 132nd.
Well, I still have a lot of O-scale building stuff left over, so I will work you into the schedule. I'll be in touch in about 6 years.
Nice job. Nice job.
Thanks.
Greg, it's Craig. Chris, could we go back to the photos of the first model, please?
Mhm.
It's the
Mount Union
doorknob
scale
on
house.
Yeah, that's it. That one. The door knob on that end door. It appears like you've got the old style metal frame.
It does.
For
That's a Grant Line. No, I'm sorry. That's a 3D printed part that I found on Etsy.
Wow.
And there's one on the outside and a matching one on the inside, and it actually has a little keyhole in it and everything.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I found it was like you could buy a group of 6 of those, and I've only used those 2. I still have the other 4. So maybe that's the start of building something for Steve. I got your doorknob, Steve.
Doorknob.
Well, I want to be your new best friend as well. So.
Yeah, I was really happy when I came across those because they were very close to what the original building had.
Yeah, they really just give it an extra bit of pop, don't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
What was the most difficult with this was this building had so many little pieces of trim work, and I must have used 10 different sizes of strip wood, building up all the trim around it, making up the front pieces, and then around the roofing and stuff. It doesn't really show much in this photo, but there were a lot of different sizes used.
Yeah. Well, there's an awful lot visible there. Another thing, is it just the models that you've built, or did Pensy like bay windows? You know, bay window.
I don't know
widely.
enough about Pensy, but I know all of the models that I've built for Pensy layouts have had bay windows, but they were all scale houses of one form or another.
You'd expect just the absolute basic rectangle, wouldn't you, for something as simple as a scale house? So
The Pensy had a lot of.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Pensy, looking around, I live in Pensy territory, and They use bay windows all over the place so the operator could look down the track to observe trains coming or going.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks, Earl.
all of the Pennsy towers have bay windows. The old ones that are not livable anymore, and including zoo and everything else, they all have a bay window.
Yeah, and I did build a switching tower for this same guy's layout that was supposed to be similar to the one in Huntington, Pennsylvania. And it had a bay window, but it was a square one, not a rectangle, not an angular one like this, but it did stick out so you could see up and down the line.
Yep. Great stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jim Thorpe right now at the picture I have of the train station there. Let me do this real quick. We'll stop sharing there and then go over here and do a little sharing. And you will see you can see the ornate windows that they have
Wow.
there. And it's the same style. So must be a Pensy thing.
Yeah, I think when they wanted to, they certainly had the designers and architects and stuff to do something out of the ordinary and a little fancy. And they didn't seem to just cut corners and figure, well, it's just a basic building. We don't need to get fancy. I think, they were almost setting the standard of the world, as we call them, in more than just their rail equipment.
Let's face it, they got a deal on windows.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. And I
thanks,
also
Greg.
want to say thank you for everything you put into this, because you've been doing this for a long time, and just having to do stuff like the voting and compiling all the results and everything, I know takes a fair bit of time, and I want you to know that all of us appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, putting the what do you call it? The survey together was actually pretty easy. I just really copied from last year and changed a little bit. And then Google does such an easy job with compiling results for me. It was just, all I had to do was take the picture and then put it on a screen. It was that easy. But thanks for sticking with us, Greg. And you've presented a lot of stuff over the years, and it's very much appreciated. But we don't want this to be intimidation. We want to encourage other modelers to share their stuff too. So, all right. Any questions for Greg before we move on? All right. Well, thank you, Greg. And we'll go on to Martin. Yep, Martin.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Shocking. So you're almost you're not first tonight, Martin.
I don't care. When have I cared? I'm a victim of the alphabet. What do I care? So I'm not going to go through the entire thing because we'll spend the whole night here. This is just an intermediate photo of the assembled car. Brass tanks that were scratch built from sheet brass and U.S. Hobbies ends and some Walthers domes and some ladders stock that I have no idea who made that. 18 inches long, so I'm cutting up ladder stock and bending it and soldering it all together. And I used up all of my 16th inch channel. So nobody seems to make that anymore. So I guess I won't build any more of these cars. Not that I was going to build any more anyhow. The flat base underneath it is a resin car, which I managed to put a nice little bend into with, I'm not quite sure how I did that at this point. Usually that only happens after in the painting process, but I like having the bend and it gives a little character. But lots of wood, lots of pieces, there's all kinds of tiny little NVWs all over those corner braces, and hardware and plastic and styrene castings. And I've forgotten which brake system's on this car. I think it's an AB. Yes, it is. It's an AB brake system underneath there. That's all there too. I don't think I have a photo of it. I only gave you the minimal number of photos, I thought at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
This car sat on my bench for about 3 months, stagnant, and then I decided I need the bench. This car has to be finished. So a couple of weeks later, it was finished. I think this is the second car I completed this year. I'm up to number 8 or 9 right now, so this one just sat there and occupied space for a very long time. So just go to the next slide, which should be, it's from the other end. So you can see the end's got grab irons and fun stuff, and that whole end assembly of the ladders is all soldered together, and it's brass ladder stock and 33 thousandths rod and 16th channel and some other odds and ends. Really cleaned out a lot of my stock of small brass shapes. That stuff is almost impossible to find now, which is frustrating if you're wanting to build something these days. I don't know who makes. You go search for a 16th inch channel. Yes, you will find tons and tons of listings in Google, and when you go to the site, it says out of stock or discontinued. Take your choice. I spent a couple hours chasing them all down and gave up. Said that's enough of that nonsense. So there's even, like you can't see it. There's a grab iron even up above the roof walk towards the cabin in the middle. So let's just go to the next slide, which should be, maybe that's the roof. Oh, what do you know? The wood roof part is actually wood underneath that. That's styrene on top of the wood, because I thought it needed a little bit more modern metal type look roof. So I just skinned it over with some styrene and some roof walk and some ABS angle and T to make the ridges. I don't know where I got that stuff, and I don't know how to replace that either. So these little tiny fine pieces, even at O-scale, are getting hard to find. Let me just go to the next slide. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is this actually is a prototype for this. I think it's either Northern Pacific or Western Pacific. I've forgotten who it was. They had this car. It was a tool and fuel oil car. So there's an article in some magazine somewhere that I found and saw and said, "Oh, that looks goofy enough that I should have one, or at least have the fun of building one and then leaving it on the shelf for 4 or 5 years and then selling it." So my usual: take it outside, paint it, bring it back inside, finish it with fine brushes, and get everything done. Those windows are actually, I think those are T-sheet castings.
Yeah,
I'm out of those too, so I'm running low on a lot of stuff. Arch bar trucks. For some reason, I put arch bar trucks on it. I think it has something to do with the wheelbase and the stirrup steps. I think I really wanted to have Andrews on it, but didn't have enough clearance, strangely enough. So, yeah, the arch bars are a little shorter, so they clear things nicely. Okay, let's see the other side or the back or the top or whatever the next slide is. It's the top. A little more touched up paint, some castings that were painted extra colors, and nothing fancy. Just a quick presentation on a long car that just didn't want to get done on my bench. So I don't know why. I've finished 5 cars in the last 6 weeks, so I don't know why this one took 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes projects do that to you.
Yeah, I think I was distracted by the Sacramento Northern Moraga restoration, rebuild. That kind of shoved everything off my bench into a corner. So, well, there it is. It's done. Maybe I'll put a name on it. Maybe I'll put some numbers on it. I don't know. Maybe it'll sit in the box on the shelf for another year.
Martin, it's Pat.
Yeah, Pat.
Those tanks, did you build them, scratch build them?
Yeah, that's 15,000 sheet brass.
And the ends of the domes, were they?
The ends are U.S. hobby parts.
Okay.
They're ancient U.S. hobby.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of fun getting them to wrap around fold that up, wrap it around. The trick to that I use are hose clamps.
Okay. Nice idea.
You just kind of roll it up on a piece of dowel and get it halfway formed, and then put a pair of hose clamps around it and tighten it down until it fits on the ends. And while it's there, grab the flux and the solder and my little torch, and off you go.
Nice job. Thanks.
The domes are Walthers.
Okay.
Really old Walthers.
Nice model. Nice model.
Thank you. I don't know.
Martin, you said the frame or the chassis was a resin piece. Was it just originally a flat car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Berkshire Valley and Chooch both made and it may have been the same one, resin flat car, and they're great raw materials for building a much more interesting car.
Well, you certainly did that.
Yeah, well, it literally provides a nice platform to be exploited.
Martin, is that a 40 or 50-foot flat?
40 foot 6-inch.
Yeah, I thought I had a kit of one of those. That's what I was just looking for. I don't see it up there though.
Well, like I said, Berkshire Valley or Chooch. They both made, I think it was the same car.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, I think Berkshire Valley may have sold them or sold the mold off to Chooch, or the other way around. But they're, you can find them cheap or you can find them expensive, but you can find them. And like I said, they're great for raw materials. Everything's raw materials in my workshop, pretty much, at some level. Is there another slide or not?
Let's take a look. Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, it's probably the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, once.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
the
the
underbody. It does have
obligatory bottoms.
It does have the AB brake on it. Loads of fun drilling holes through the the cast framework and running wire through it and getting it all connected into little holes that you can't see, using lots of hemostats and colorful language and a little drop of ACC when you get it just right, because if you let go of it, it won't be there later. It'll go flying off into the dark. But yeah, so lots of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Martin. Are there any questions for Martin? All right. Sounds good. Thanks for sharing. As always, Martin, you always bring something very interesting to the table. We appreciate that very much.
Okay. Well.
And then last but not least is Phil.
So you change this and now I have to go after Martin.
Well, I figured there was one person that could compete. You'd
Craig
come close.
And Craig. Now it's okay. Go ahead and jump into it there, Chris. So, I'm doing my layout and this kind of the central coast there, south of Santa Cruz to Monterey in California. The Pajaro Valley Consolidated Railroad, which is kind of the primary railroad I'm kind of emulating as a prototype, was actually built to haul beets from the beet farmers to a beet factory built by Spreckles. And I have on the layout, I have 2 locations where I'm going to have beet loaders. One that's going to be a more traditional beet loader like this, and one that'll probably be something smaller. I don't have as much room. So I needed beat cars, and I kind of went through it and said, well, if I also want to have a couple of beat cars coming in staging, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I need 12 to 16 of these. And you can kind of see the way they're built. These were built primarily by the Carter brothers in California, and fairly simple cars. I'm going to go jump to the next slide. So what I did was I decided to go ahead and 3D print the frame. So this is actually the design of the frame done in FreeCAD. It uses truss rods without queen posts, so fairly basic flat car frame, and it also uses trusses of the bolsters. So you'll notice if you're into 3D, you'll notice those planes there that are an angle. Those are to do the holes for the truss rods and the bolsters fit into the design. Designed for KD couplers, fairly much emulates the general dimensions of a Bachmann car, but obviously shorter because it's only a 24-foot car. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. Then what I did was I said, well, I wanted to 3D print because again, I'm going to build 12 to 16 of these. I don't want to do them individually out of styrene. I think Craig's car was wonderful, but I imagine if you asked Craig to build 11 more of them, he would probably have a fairly visceral reaction about that. So what I did was I decided to go ahead and 3D print the different pieces of the cars. So on the upper left is the two ends. The upper right is the side doors. The lower left is the spreaders that were in the car and the inside. And I had some pictures that kind of showed the interior of some of these cars. And then at the bottom right is I decided to put these load spreaders to push the beats out. I'm not sure they actually were in the car, but it has the big advantage, as you'll see, of I can put weights in those. So that's actually how I've weighted the cars. And these have all been weighted with a couple of ounces of weight. So go ahead and jump to the next slide. So these are basically the 3D printed pieces to the model. You can see them from the previous design, the frame, the couple of sides, the two ends, and then the spreaders. Some of the pictures actually had some added boards on them, and I was going to try to add that on the little intermediate center spreader there, or whatever brace you want to call it, on the upper right. You know, it has a couple of pieces sticking out of it. I decided not to do that for two reasons. One, I didn't really like the way it looked after I got it done, and it seemed to me it was just too fragile. So I decided to take those off. So the one on the bottom right shows actually what I ended up doing on the car. And I actually didn't reprint those. I just took them off and sanded the area clean. Okay, go ahead and jump to the next slide. So this is a picture of the car after all those pieces were basically painted. This is primer red, Rust-Oleum primer red. I find it's a great boxcar color. If you're careful with how you paint, you get good detail. The pieces were all painted individually, the frame, the sides, etc. Then on the frame, I added on a real wood deck so it would look good. And then I basically assembled it. The ends are actually designed to go into those pockets that were printed in the base. You notice I have the truss rods on it now. And then I just used some brass wire at the top to hold everything together. I got it to this point and I was really trying to figure out what to do next. The original thought in my mind was that those side doors could open just like in the prototype. What I realized was that there was just no way to make that effective. So I ended up basically ACCing at the end of the brass rod on the top and down at the bottom of those side doors. So basically I ACC'd everything together. Then after I did that, what I did was I cut the wires off plumb on the ends and then used some masking tape to mask off the bottom part of the body so I could spray paint the rods on the top. So go ahead and jump to the next slide. So this is kind of some pictures of how it looks after it was weathered. One of my friends, Richard Brennan, has an Alps printer, so I actually have had him print me up a bunch of decals, and I'll show you some pictures of some of those things later on. But you kind of see what the car looks like with a little bit of weathering. Not heavily weathered because beets really, I don't think, do nearly as much damage as the minerals do in Craig's car. So go ahead and jump to the next slide. Oh, actually, can you go back a slide? I don't know if you can see this. Go back one. You really can't see it very well, but all of the rivet detail on the end of those is actually done in the 3D printing. If you look down, you kind of see this. If you look where the truss rod or the rods are for the bolsters there, those are actually NBWs, and I put NBWs on the end, but all of the bolts that would essentially hold on, those side posts to the boards and on the doors, I actually did those in the 3D printer. I basically put a circle that was a 0.4 millimeter dot and made it about 0.2 millimeters high. And those were printed on the print deck down. And then the printer just literally goes around and puts those dots on. And if you get up really close, you can see they don't have a lot of detail. But for a kind of what I consider a production car like this, actually turns out it looks pretty reasonable at fairly close distance. Go ahead and jump now to the next slide. So one of the things I've been doing is I've been buying these Dr. Fish fishing weights. You basically just take your cutters and just cut off the wire on the top, and you get a nice weight that, and the half ounce is about a little over 1.5 inches long, about 1/4 of an inch in diameter, and they work out really well. I'm actually putting 2 of these, actually 4 of these in the end of Bachmann cars to weight the cars. I think it's really nice to have your cars have some weight. They run a lot better, much more realistic for operation. They're not incredibly cheap, but they're fairly convenient to use and install. And so what you notice is on the upper right there, those were those spreaders. They were actually made so the interior was available, and you just glue these in and just use a little of that, that 606 or whatever that adhesive is, and just glue them in there. I'm going to jump to the next slide. One little comment on this that I found, and it's an interesting thing if you do any 3D printing. The one on the left, you'll notice there's a line across there that runs up at an angle, and that's actually where the print head started printing at each layer on the print. In Cura, when I did this the first time, it just automatically set that line up. What I ended up doing was I went and I found that there is a thing called Z-seam alignment and seam corner preference. And by setting those up, I was able to do what you see on the upper right in Cura, which is where those little white dots are. That's actually where the print head starts. So basically the bottom right picture is the same part, but by choosing where the print head gets, you get rid of that line, which really kind of destroyed the illusion of it being wood. The nice thing about this, because it's layered, you actually get a little bit of texturing on it that after you paint it, really doesn't look too bad. I'm going to jump to the next slide. So this is kind of just a picture of how it looks inside. And like I said, that layering actually gives you something that feels a little bit like grain on the inside. And you can actually see, this is probably the best view of these pictures. You can see there on those spreader things that hold the bars up, you can see the little rivet detail that's in there. I'm going to jump to the next slide. So one of the things I did want was I've been here long enough that I've been shamed by Martin to say that you absolutely must have brake gear on the car. So I decided to go ahead and add brake gear. So if you go ahead and flip to the next slide, I went and designed the brake gear based on the Westinghouse cylinder brake system. But what I found was where I was installing it was actually a little bit short. So I took the kind of standard design and I shortened it up a little bit, took some artistic license. So on the upper left is the brake cylinder. On the upper right is the kind of clevis that connects to that. Just use a piece of brass rod between them. And then the bottom 2 parts are the 2 parts for the rest of the brake linkage. And then the part in the upper right, I decided to go ahead and my assumption on these cars is that they were built originally without brakes. and the brakes were added later. And so the brake piping actually runs right on the deck underneath. That made it easier to install, quite frankly. And I made a little piece there that would hold them in place. So jump to the next slide. So this is kind of what that ended up looking like when I put all those parts together. These are actually Bachmann wheel sets, but I used the brake wheels from the oh, come on. I can't remember the name of the company now, but they build larger O-scale cars, and they build cars based on the Denver and Rio Grande Western cars, and they have this brake system that pops on there. You kind of see, and I added that, but you can see the pieces from the brakes. It has all the brake hosing on it, but again, I just ran it on the top, ran it underneath the two pieces of wood that are there for the tie rods, and then ran it tied up into the cylinders and put in all the other pieces that kind of go with it. So jump to the next slide. I think that's probably it. And that's kind of a final photo on my layout of the car. And like I said, eventually I need to build another, I think probably 15 of them. I'll probably do them in blocks of 5 and just go ahead and print all the parts, paint them all, put them together, and close them off. And that's basically it. I think that's the last slide.
Yep, sure is. Awesome job, Phil. I see the dude jumping off the bridge too over here.
Yeah, there's actually a pond there, and I've got a swimmer in the pond and the kid jumping off the bridge. I thought this is actually on a module where the public is about a foot from this scene when we take it to train shows.
Phil, are these stake pockets, did they put stakes in there to hold the doors closed when it was loaded?
No, they actually had a bar across, and I need to go figure out how to add that on. You can't actually see it, but at the bottom, at the base of the ends, the two ends, there's you see the little piece that kind of comes out at an angle there.
Yeah.
There's a hole in there, and I was going to put a brass rod across, and I just haven't done it yet. I probably will do that on the next one. Go ahead and put something across there to try to show the locks they had on it.
Okay. So are the stake pockets just left over from when it was built as a flat car or something?
Yeah, they seem to have they seem to have the pockets on there on the cars. I assume they were from the freight car days.
Okay.
Or flat car, built as flat cars.
Well, it looks really good, especially that underbody detail.
Yeah, I thought the underbody detail came out pretty cool, considering it's all just 3D printed, and you can print a set of once you got the designs done and you've got it through Cura, you can literally hit a button and it only takes about 15 minutes to print up a set of brake gear. So cool. Well, thanks, Chris. I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Phil. Any more questions for Phil? All right. Well, thanks, Phil, and everyone that contributed tonight. That was I think it was a huge success. I think we're an hour and 15 maybe. So that's it's pretty good. So the upcoming shows, July 15th is a free for all. Make sure you get your photos to me by July 12th. Same with August 26th. That is also a free for all. The deadline for that is August 23rd. Then we roll into September. The challenge will be animations, make it move, those sorts of things. Even if it's an illusion I think when we did this several years ago, it was even if you could make an illusion of movement, that would fit the category. So submission deadline for that one is September 20th. And as with all of these shows, even though it's a challenge, do what you can do to see what you can do to kind of bend that challenge theme a little bit and see what you can do to fit into those categories. There's always some pretty interesting ideas floating out there that people have done. And anyway, thank you all for watching. Thanks to those that have participated. And with that, I'll throw it back over to you, Phil.
Well, thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. That was great MyBuild this week, and lots of cool models. So with that, we're now to next little segment here. We have another layout tour. This was another one from New Mexico. And I think you'll find it's a pretty cool layout. He's actually was modeling the Santa Fe through that area in New Mexico, and I've got a couple of shots of that. But really interesting layout. Literally has a garage that's actually a second garage on the property, a pretty large place. And we actually did the crew meeting in the garage. You'll see that at the beginning of the video, and the layout is underneath that. And very good, great layout to operate on. You can see where the stairs come down there. You see right at the, that was the upstairs garage, and this is going down the stairs. The guy sitting at the bottom of the stairs is managing the staging that is underneath that area on the stairs, and basically that becomes his seating position for the operating session. See the staging underneath here as well.
Like David. Thank you. Gonna be.
I think he did an amazing job of capturing the feel of the scenery in that area.
It is easy to get a new tracks layout visit made of your layout, a friend's layout, or a layout you visit. Please take a 4 to 8 minute overview video of the layout and take 20 to 30 still images. Send an email to Phil at the address on the screen and you will get a cloud drive to upload the videos and photos to.
That was a really nice layout. In fact, I have one more that is definitely in the queue. Came from Pat, but it would look forward to any of you that are going out and visiting a layout to take a quick video and a few pictures and send it to me, and we'll turn it into a layout visit video. So with that, we're gonna close this evening out with Steve Sherrill, and I'm gonna ask Steve to join me. And Steve's going to do one of the things we've talked early on that people liked was a time to be a bit more interactive, and Steve is going to step up and do a little session and be a little bit more interactive. Cool. Here you are, Steve, and I'll throw it to you.
Okay, thank you. It's been a while since I've been on, and first off, I'd like to say something about the scholarship. I know that Phil had talked about some of the contributors, but I'm not going to mention anything about that from now on. I'm just going to talk about how the applicants are selected. You know, we had 11 applicants this year. I've been on this committee, which happens to be the Applicant Review and Recommendation Committee. It was chaired by Hank Primus, had Doc Lovelace, Jamie Bothwell, and myself. This is my third or fourth year on this, and to get 11 applicants is just outstanding. And I would like to say that we had some outstanding applicants. And we went through on June the 18th, and we selected 6 that we submitted to the final selection committee. And I'm not sure exactly when that committee will meet and determine who will receive the scholarships. But we reviewed all the applications, and they were quite extensive. There was a lot of writing where the applicants told about what they were doing as far as modeling goes, what their outlooks are. These are all young people. I believe the oldest one was a sophomore in college. And we had some outstanding people that we selected to submit for the final board. And so I believe that, I don't know exactly when that date will come up. Maybe Phil can let me know now. And, but believe me, you will be surprised at who the select committee comes up with. Also, I would like to
Steve, we're probably going to have, it's going to probably be close to the middle of the month, because we have to go through the process with the awardees of getting them to sign the agreement to use their name, etc. When we get that done, we'll basically have an announcement session. I think it'll be the middle of next month, middle of next month.
I think what I'm trying to relate it to is this is all the selection process that we go through. You know, these people fill out the applications and they answer all the questions. They have people who recommend them. They have college scores, college grades, and we take all of that into consideration when we pass on the final 6 that we submit to the selection committee. So, and then it goes into the next process. So I just wanted to mention that today, that, you know, it's a little more involved than just, hey, they show up one day and hey, they got the scholarship.
Well, yeah, and by the way, thanks to the selection committee for actually doing that review work. You know, you, Hank, and Doc, and it's great that you're doing that and going through it, because people need to understand it's a fairly voluminous amount of information when you have 11 candidates, and each one has, you know, where they've modeled, where they've been doing their modeling. They've got an essay, they've got pictures of the model. You got to kind of contrast them and decide, you know, from that perspective, who is the best candidate for the scholarship. So thanks to you guys for that effort.
Well, it was, when I say it was fun, it's fun to submit people who are deserving. Okay. It's not necessarily fun to sit down there and have to read and evaluate all the information that's on that application. But anyway, so we're going to have that result in about 4 weeks, maybe. Next, I want to also talk about the Harrisburg O-scale meet. I believe Greg touched on it a little bit last week and had some pictures. Now, for me, I've been to all of them. And this one was just as nice as the rest of them. Since I'm actually changing, going to GN15, I really wasn't looking for ON30 or ON18 stuff. So I was kind of getting rid of some of my equipment. But there were a lot of new vendors there, and it was very interesting. And one thing I would say is that there was at least 10 attendees who have participated or been on new tracks. And I think, Greg, is at least 10 that I can name right off the top of my head. We did not.
I could probably go through my photos and pick out somewhere close to a dozen people that have somehow, in one way or another, been involved in new tracks.
Unfortunately, we did not get a picture of all the people. You know, I thought about it, and then something else came up, and we didn't get together for that. But I think 12 is probably a good number. So, and people have heard about the show, they watch the show. So we're out there, you know, we're not just here for the 25, 35 people who are on Zoom right now. Also, there was a lot of discussion on the big boy, 4014. And a lot of people were going to see Big Boy since you were up in the Pennsylvania area. It was an opportunity to go and see it. Now, I'm not going to go until it leaves and starts its westward trip again. I'll go to Pennsylvania and see it then. So I don't know if has anybody seen it yet that's on the show tonight?
All right.
Has anybody seen 4014? Even going
yeah, I saw it when it was out here about a year and a half ago in California.
Yeah.
It made a West Coast trip. Not this time, but the previous time it came out. Saw it in Roseville. It was pretty. It's pretty amazing to see up close.
Well, I think, you know, when they're selling 30,000 tickets to Steamtown and things like that, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. But I'm hoping to just get a little beside you know, some track somewhere with just 3 or 4 of us, watching it go through. But yeah. So one other thing I want to talk about. When I got back from Harrisburg, I went through the items that I did purchase, and I'm starting to get a lot of parts again. At one time, I had a lot of parts. About 5 years ago, I sold off many parts. I had a lot of parts, $5,000 worth of parts I sold in one show. And I could kick myself every day for doing it, but I did it. So now I'm starting to get the parts back again, and I want to organize them. Bells and things like that. I've got just many parts. And so one of the things I want to talk about is the best way to organize these parts. Some parts will fit in smaller drawers. Some parts are bigger. They take up more space. I want to ask the people on the show, what are they doing to organize their parts?
Well, I got one of those 12 drawer rolling stands from Michael's that has 12 drawers that are probably about 9 inches wide and 12 inches deep. And, it's just a little metal stand that they all slide in and it rolls. And each drawer holds a different collection of parts. Like one drawer is all my tissue parts. One drawer is all my roofing stuff. It kind of works for that. It doesn't work well for small parts. So I have a box that sits on top of it with a flip up lid that's kind of like a tackle box for the smaller parts. But of course, that's overflowed too. So I've got 2 more of those little drawer boxes on a shelf, and they're pretty much filled up now too.
Now, these are clear plastic, correct?
Yeah.
And you can see, do you have labels on the outside of them? Have you?
No, because I know which each one is.
Yeah.
If somebody else came along, they'd have to figure it out. I've used them enough, and I know which drawer has all my screws in it, which drawer has all my trucks, which drawer has all of my windows and stuff. So,
Okay. Well, I've got those in bags, so it's not the best way to do that. I want to be able to. I'm ended up going through 15 different bags all the time, because I know they're there. I just have to get the right bag or the right box. So it gets a little frustrating to have to go through the same thing every time to look for a window or something like that.
Yeah. What I have is kind of trays, double-sided, that are used. They have you can make your own size of space inside of the box, but it's double-sided and it's like a carrying case. And one of them I use for Tichy, and another one I use for San Juan models, or what used to be called Grant Line. And again, I don't label them. I keep them Windows packages so I know what numbers they are in case I have to go online and look for another that's exactly the same. But that's what I have. I don't have a big rack or anything. I have a couple of old toolboxes that I keep all my wood and styrene shapes and sheets in.
Yeah, Steve?
Yeah.
I have the metal boxes that have all the individual drawers in them, the clear plastic drawers. And I screw them to the back wall of my workbench. And when I'm sitting there, I can look up and see which one has the parts that I'm looking for. And on the front, I label it with a sticker with the name of the parts that are in that drawer. That helps a lot. I also have those clear plastic containers that you buy from Temu that are all individually slotted, so you can put all your parts in it. And on top, I write in black ink what's in that section. There's 2 different ways that I do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, now, what
I
did
use shoe boxes. I have, okay, sitting in front of me, stacked up. I have 30 shoe boxes of all different parts. I got what in. I do have to go through the whole box when I'm looking for something, but it's helped me out greatly. Plus, I got a ton of shelving in here.
By the way, I got to see Hank's layout when we were reviewing and selecting the applicants that we forwarded on to the final selection committee. He's got a very nice layout. I hope he shares it with New Tracks one day. Okay.
When I can get it nice enough to look at.
Hey, it's nice layout, Hank. Don't let anybody kid you, okay?
No, thank you. Thank you.
So when Joann's went out of business, I bought some, they're about 2.5, a little over 2 feet, maybe 30 inches wide, maybe 36 inches tall, 34 inches tall. They're kind of a metal frame, and they've got plastic drawers, 2 sets of drawers in them, small drawers at the top and larger drawers. I think I paid $50 for them at Joann's on their blowout sale when they went out of business. And the cool thing about those, the drawers reach, probably 16 inches by 18, 20 inches. And they slide in on metal guides, and you can take the whole drawer out and carry it to the workbench. So I have those, 2 of those. I bought 2 of those, and I've got them labeled with a lot of stuff. Got some of those smaller, I don't know what they are. They're little drawers about this big for other stuff. But what I find for most of the small detail parts, what I do is I bought tubs, the big tubs that you store stuff in. And then you can buy from Harbor Freight or Temu those little containers that have all the little dividers in them. And I just stack those in the tub. So like figures, I've got, I think, 4 or 5 of those with boxes of figures. And the cool thing about those is they're clear and you can look through and see what's in them. And then they're easy to open up and it keeps them all separated. So pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, I've actually started accumulating those, and so I'm not buying them all at one time. It's an expense. If every time you go there, you buy one, that kind of thing. I also like the drawers that were, look, it was a three or 4 drawer container that was on wheels. But it was plastic, and I'm not sure who made that. But I like those too, because they will fit underneath a table or a tray if you're working, and so you don't have to have them out all the time. But yeah.
I found these at the Container Store, but since I'm in N scale, I have a huge advantage over a lot of you guys. I have about 12 of these with all my parts in them.
Yeah, small drawers, right?
They're just a lid that comes up.
And you definitely can see in all of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
So Steve, I'll share a picture here real quick. And
okay.
So, one of the things I've done is this is my workbench, and I built the workbench so that everything above this level right here is removable, because you can lower the workbench and slide it under this module so it disappears.
Yeah.
But what you see here is these guys here are pretty nice. I don't remember where I bought these, but they're little, it's a unit of 3 of these with little drawers in them.
Yeah.
They're a little bigger than the ones you get in those big racks. The problem with the racks is I can't fit them underneath the layout. So I don't have a workshop where I've got a wall to put stuff on. But if you look over here on the right, or on the far left here, these are those little racked carts. And basically they have 2 of these plastic drawers, and they have metal slides here they slide into. Yeah. And I find it's really convenient because I have these labeled for different, like I have one that's got all my electronics parts, and I got all my brass parts in it. When I decide I want to use those, I can just take the whole drawer out, take it over here to the workbench, pick out what I need, and then slide the old
Yeah.
drawer back in. It worked out really well. And like I said, I bought them when Joanne's went out of business, but I imagine
Yeah.
you could find them on Temu or somewhere pretty cheaply.
Yeah, those are the same things that I've gotten at Michael's. So,
Yep.
they sometimes go on sale there.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess I'll be looking at Michael's and Hobby Lobby's probably got the same thing, don't you think? Maybe.
Yeah. Also, don't forget the dollar store.
Right.
Even though it's not $1 anymore, a lot of the things I had, especially most of my plastic things, they came from the dollar store.
Well,
because I'm cheap.
You're not cheap. You're just economical. That's the word we're going to use. Okay.
Well, even my friends say I'm cheap, so that's all right.
Or you're thrifty.
Thrifty, yeah.
Yeah.
Thrifty. I like that. Yep. Wow.
So,
here's a nice one.
Yeah.
frugal.
Wow.
There we go.
Put that one back up again. I like you'd labeled those.
So, yeah, these are not inexpensive. I got these actually at Publix, and I built a rack for them. There it is. So I built the rack and the shelf and they're all labeled and everything, and they have a lid on them. So I pull them out and put them on the table when I'm sorting through them. And I can pick them up and take them, if I want to put tools in them and take them to the train show or, parts or anything, that the lid will, hold the stuff in there from bouncing around when you're transporting it. So, and then I have,
the ones on top of the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what there we are. So, I got those, the two different sizes of stuff where it's sorted out into these other bins. So this works out pretty good for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I just some oddball stuff kind of in between there that I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to refine it and put it in containers that are similar size. But he was talking about the dollar store, so the containers with the blue lids on them are ones I buy from the dollar store. I got a whole shelf out in the garage with just these stacked on top of each other with them all labeled with stuff that I don't use all the time. And then I have, it'll take a minute to get around to it. I have a bunch of these little things I bought at Walmart. Come on. Yeah, a bunch of these little things I bought at Walmart that kind of screw together to hold all my really small engine parts. This is where I do all my work on my engines here. So they'll stack on top of each other and screw together. And then there's some lids if you have single ones. So, and I label them as I'm working on really small, intricate stuff.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You're organized.
And never. So that's the bane of a model trainer is, always getting better organized.
Wow. Well.
So, yeah, workbench.
Well, I think we've kind of covered that. I'm going to have to go to a little shopping tomorrow.
And before you do, this is just to give you an idea. You heard Pat mention Temu. I mean, this is kind of thing you can buy on Temu. So this is I think it says 4, but there are 5 in the picture for 523 for 28 compartments with lids. And they're see how big they are. They're 8 by 5 inches. So these are pretty small for small parts, but they've got a lot of similar things on there. I mean, I used to buy them at Harbor Freight, but you can get them cheaper if you buy them online.
Yard sale. I bet you we can get some of those at yard sale too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or throw your wife's jewelry away and use hers.
She has no jewelry. I'm the only jewel she has.
There you go.
Where's she was sitting right here. She left now, so yeah.
Good. I don't blame her.
Come on, Pat. Be nice. Anyway, thank you for all that help on the organizing the parts. I'm going to start that seriously. I hate going through all those boxes. You know, just hate it. So I'm going to get organized since I'm going to TN15. So that's all I have tonight. Anybody else have anything? How about any next events? What's happening next? Any shows? Any?
I think the next big event is going to be the NMRA convention, which is in Chattanooga in late July. Which, by the way, we probably should next time we get together find out who's going, and we can get a little mailing list together, and people can get together at the convention. It's always fun to see people you know.
Is the old headquarters still there?
No,
I don't.
It's not in Chattanooga, but it's a little ways to the east.
I mean, they always said Chattanooga is where it was.
Yeah, it's in Soddy Daisy, which is, they might have 500 people in that town.
Oh.
Wow. I mean, Chattanooga is where people would recognize it on the map.
I've only been to one NMRA convention. That was 1982 in Washington, D.C. One.
Yeah.
And that was
this year it's the Southeast region, and a lot of people from Atlanta are going up there.
Oh, really?
It's a 2-hour drive.
Oh.
So, there's no, not a long ride.
They don't even they can go home at night.
Not for me, it would.
You can't travel around Atlanta at all, though. It's a lot of traffic.
I know I had to take my son to the airport on Monday, and I knew we should leave early, and we did. There was no traffic.
Well, yeah.
We got on the road. We got to the airport, which should have taken an hour and 10 minutes, in about 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I said, I'm sorry, but you're just here early,
He didn't miss the plane anyway.
No.
But isn't that a rule, Hank? If you leave early, there's not any traffic. If you leave late, there's lots of traffic. I think that's the karma of the universe commenting on your forward planning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually on the way down, I looked at the other side of the highway. There were 2 ambulances and 3 fire engines, and the traffic was stopped.
Wow.
So I knew not to come back that way. But it never happens like that,
Well, maybe it's gonna. I don't know. Look, in my area, we're just growing like crazy. I think West Virginia is one of the least growing populace in the nation, but we're only growing 6%. So they say, compared to Texas or somewhere else, or it's in the teens. but 6% of us is a lot.
That's right.
So they're just coming out of the woodwork to come here. So, but none of them seem to be model railroaders. This is what I can't understand. Where, you know, I'm looking for neighbors that are model railroaders.
They're actually, it seems to be hard to find. And I don't know, you got some people like me that are out in a place where there are no other model railroaders around. And you know, for me to have, if we were going to do an operating session, I got to put it out a month in advance so people can plan to get over here.
Yeah. Well, but they would come in and have a good time.
Well, I always have.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the reason you want to join the NMRA. One of the big reasons is you find the modelers that are around you, and if you can't, don't do that. It's pretty hard to, unless you go to a hobby shop and meet people at a hobby shop. It's pretty hard to identify a modeler on the street.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Steve, I think that was great. It's now hit 9 o'clock on the East Coast. I think 6 o'clock on the West Coast. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and call it for this evening. Well, obviously the conversation will go on as we close, but only for those on Zoom. So with that, we've come to the end of our program for this evening. So I'd like to do is ask Father Ron, who is here, to do a little invocation for us, and then we'll be ready to close for the evening.
O God, as we create and miniature the world around us, may we marvel at the beauty and genius which created the world and instilled in us a portion of your great knowledge and wisdom. Give success to the work of our hands, O God. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to your completion of that pickling house you were building. It was so cool. So that brings us to the end of our our program for this evening. So what I'd like to do is that we're going to run a little caboose. Figured since we were at the winter solstice or summer solstice, having a video of heavy snowfall was quite appropriate. Well, thanks everyone for coming this evening. Didn't have a lot of topics, but I think it was a great program. Thanks everyone for participating in the MyBuild, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Same station, same time. Have a great week. Bye now.
Be dark soon.